What's up everybody and welcome to another edition of AGR's Pop Culture Reviews. Guys, you don't know how many years I've been waiting to own a Batman Begins figure. But not just any figure, one in 1/4 scale. Now, unfortunately, I missed out on the original run of the Interbay figure, which is now legendary. So, today we're going to be taking a look at the Neca 1/4 scale Batman Begins figure. Now, I'll be the first to admit, when I first saw this figure and its concept photos, I wasn't initially impressed. To be honest with you, it looked like a knockoff version of the Interbay figure, and that's never a good thing. It also didn't help that I've never actually owned a Neca figure, so this is going to be the first figure that I review in 1/4 scale. So does Neca have a hit on their hands here, or are they going to stumble and fall on their ass? Let's take a closer look. Guys, it gives me such great pleasure to report that this is a phenomenal figure, absolutely amazing in every way. For those of us who missed out on the original Interbay run, this is not a substitute, this is a rival, and that's awesome for a collector, so we don't have to feel like we're making concessions or that we settled. Now, if you're a completist like me, you're still going to want to get the Interbay figure, but that's just me personally. But for anybody else, guys, this is more than enough. The head sculpt on this figure alone is unbelievable. I can't believe how well they recreated Christian Bale. I mean, I don't see anybody else. It is Christian Bale. The flesh tone was expertly painted. The imperfections in the skin, coupled with the wrinkles, it looks so lifelike. I can't believe that they got so much detail at this price point. This looks like a much more high-end figure. There's something else that's really striking as well. The cowl seems to be much more representative of the original film. Guys, just have a look at the eyes. They're phenomenal. Now, some of you have mentioned, and I've seen in other reviews, that they don't really like that kind of purple haze around his eyes. You don't really notice it unless you're really close up, and as you can see here, I have a light shining on it really bright, and that's what's really making it look a little lighter. But when you see it in person, it's actually a lot darker, and for me, I personally like it. I don't know, there's something about that purple hue that makes the green eyes come out a little more, and it looks more menacing. Now, for me personally, one of the reasons that I didn't jump off and go get the Interbay figure immediately is because of the costume. There was something that was really bothering me about the finish on the armor. Now, the finish on this armor is kind of a semi-matte, which works really well. It's a nice in-between. Now, others have commented about the seam lines that you see, and most people think that it's kind of a negative, but I really don't. I like that much more modularized set of armor. It looks more lifelike in my opinion. Now, what really impressed me was his utility belt. I absolutely like the detail, and the color is just right. It's a mix between copper and bronze, and I think it makes it look much more realistic. Unlike the Interbay figure, there are no issues with the utility belt here, and there's tons and tons of video on YouTube about how people had to go and manually manipulate the utility belt on that figure just to get it to fit right. You don't have those issues here. Now, I'm always very particular with the gauntlets on any of my Batman figures. I always like to see an excellent contrast between the gauntlets and the rest of the suit, and they did that really well here, making it a high gloss instead of a dull finish. Really nice touch, and for me, it just makes the figure. Now, this for me is very impressive. Neca spared no expense in adding details, especially when it comes to the boots. They look fantastic. They have very different textures. You have a dull overcoat, you have this kind of reptilian texture to it on the side of the boots, and up front near the shin guard, it's actually a high gloss. I mean, these boots just look amazing. They did a really great job. Nice job, Neca. I have to say, I took this video just because of the way that the figure looks. The profile on this Batman looks phenomenal, especially standing this way. For some reason, this figure looks a lot more menacing to me than the Interbay figure, and that's saying a lot. You know, as I was shooting this, I was thinking to myself, even though I really like this pose, I don't have to keep him this way. Unlike the Interbay figure, you have so many points of articulation that you can really get a lot of endless dynamic poses. Now, it's hard to talk about the cape, because really it's a personal preference. Now, the Interbay figure does have a superior cape, and I do like the way it flows on the overall figure. However, there is a problem with the color on the Interbay figure, and it's a lot more purple and not really movie accurate. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want anybody to think that this is not a great cape. It really is. It's just not exactly the same or on the same level as the Interbay figure, but there is a trade-off. I mean, like I said, it's up to personal preference. The overall cape is pretty great. It has this velveteen finish and it's pretty malleable. But for me, hands down, the best thing about this cape is definitely the color. It's so dark and it contrasts really well with the rest of the suit. The only gripe I have with it, and it's kind of a small one, is that because of the finish, it's gonna attract a lot of dust and lint. But that's what, lint brushes are for. Now thankfully this figure comes with a multitude of accessories. The first being the two batarangs. One folds over and the other one remains solid. You also have a hook that attaches to the belt for any additional items, and you have the bat sonar collar thing that we see in the film. And it's cool because it can actually be put underneath the boot. This figure also comes with the two mines you see in the film, and it's pretty cool because one of them is armed and the other one is disarmed. Nice touch. Neca also included Batman's trusty grapple gun, and I have to say, it's very impressive, extremely detailed. Rounding out the last set of accessories are 3 additional hands. One of them is specifically for the bat mines, the other is for the grapple gun, and the final one is for the bat sonar. Now guys, I wanted to show you a comparison in terms of the size between the Neca figure and a premium format Batgirl figure, because this guy is a freaking beast. Now one of the things that struck me immediately when I took him out of the box is how freaking heavy he was. And for me, this was the most pleasing viscerally because it didn't feel like a cheap figure, it feels really solid. Guys, overall, I have to reiterate my initial impressions at the beginning of the video. This is an absolutely phenomenal figure. This is my first Neca figure, specifically in 1/4 scale, and I'm absolutely blown away. Very impressive. To be honest with you guys, after doing this video, I'm actually reconsidering whether I even want the Enterbay figure anymore. Now, that's not a knock against Enterbay, it's a fantastic figure, but given this, all of the things that it comes with, especially the range and movement, the articulation, I don't see why I need to get the Enterbay figure anymore. And it also got me to thinking, especially the astronomically and absurdly high prices that are being asked for on the secondary market. And I can't believe that this figure is going, probably shipped, for $120. I will say this though, I don't think that this price is gonna last very long. I think that this is a perfect rival to the Enterbay figure, and there's probably gonna be a very high demand. So before the secondary market gobbles this up, and you really want this figure, get it soon guys. Now before I go, I just gotta give a really special shout out to Tex Toys for sending this phenomenal figure over for review. And if they hadn't sent it over, I totally would have bought it. Thanks a lot guys, you've satisfied an itch that I've had for about 4 years now. Really appreciate it. Alright guys, so that's my official review on the Neca 1/4 scale Batman Begins figure. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next AGR's Pop Culture Reviews.